Good evening, everyone. I am Superfed TV, and I am picking up where we left off last week with the Division 4 and 5 recap for Week 12 of the REL. So let's go ahead and jump into it. This week, my co-caster Trunkhead is out. He was trying to use the West Nile virus to combat the Zika virus and ended up giving his own computer a Trojan, so he will not be joining me. So let's go ahead and start with Div 5, and again, it's going to be a similar format to last week where I'm going to try and review as many of the teams as I can, but I will also be doing something a little extra this episode, and we'll get into why I'm doing that as we kind of go through these. So I had a bunch of you respond to me last week and let me know about a certain coach's plans, and that's going to kind of trigger something that we're going to do here tonight. So let's go ahead and take a look at Week 12 and see how everything shook out. Looks like The Secret of My Success tied Cash Crew Part 2, 1-1. And I believe that match was played by the time that we took a look at them last week, but kind of dive into this a little bit more in depth. The Orcs really stuck it to the humans in this matchup. 64 blocks is really the humans taking it on the chin. I'm really surprised they were able to pull off the 1-1 tie. Usually if you're going to give up that many blocks and that many armor breaks, resulting in 7 removals, you are not going to be able to come out of it with a tie. So I'm guessing there was probably some dice thrown and some shenanigans called, but good job for Cash Crew Part 2 to be able to pull out the tie on that one. SPP-wise, a lot of development on the Orc team. Couple cool things over on the humans, but nothing huge. But the Orcs got to be okay with that match. Even though it's a tie, you still got a ton of SPP, so... Dommy Fleet there getting the MVP as well as 2 removals. That's very nice. Moving on to the next matchup of the week. Nurgle FTDs versus the 3 Mountains. Let's see. Dwarves did not get as many armor breaks, but it didn't matter. And I believe the Nurgle team does have some claw, so that would probably explain that one. Ball control, though, it doesn't look like the Nurgle had much effort or much ability to retain the ball. We did see the strip ball piece over on the dwarf side, so that could have had a factor. Relatively similar amount of blocks, so for the armor breaks to really be this, basically double the armor breaks for the Nurgle team. They were getting some things to go their way, but they just weren't able to capitalize on it yet. Again, we look forward to seeing what the Nurgle team does next season. 3 Mountains, looking forward to their big match, which is probably happening soon. And let's see, Havoc Stitchman and Panic Party, that's a draw against a draw, so no points awarded there. Skeek Island Boys over the admin team, they get their draw there, which again has clinched them victory. Congrats to them, good luck in the playoffs. Dimension C137, 2-2 tie against the High Elves. 25 armor breaks to 1. Wow. That's a lot of armor breaks. 47 blocks. That's over 50% armor break to block ratio. That's wicked. 5 injuries, 7 knockouts. Geez, out of 25 armor breaks, honestly, the High Elves are lucky to only have 5 injuries and to have no kills. Did they have any deaths of their own? No. And so, yeah, they had 2 casualties on their own just from dodging and doing elf things, and another 5 inflicted. Wow. That's pretty crazy. The fact that they were able to come away with the tie there, it's definitely High Elf ball throwing passes. I'm surprised the 2-1 grind didn't go. I'm sure there was some kind of kickoff event or something, but that's a crazy amount of armor breaks. I'm just not even going to lie. That's insane. Moving on to Drakwall Day Laborers and the Necronomic Newbies. Drakwall Day Laborers, the human catcher there, gets the MVP with the strength up. That's a great, beautiful piece. And you want to get as much SPP on that guy. I mean, obviously you want to spread it apart, but getting SPP on this guy's great because getting tackle next or a strip ball, your choice, it's going to make that an amazing piece. Very useful. However, the Necronomic Newbies won 3-2. Much needed win. They're breaking through the armor like crazy now on this side as well. 45 blocks, 13 armor breaks. That's a good ratio. Just to give you some perspective compared to the Undead team, which was an amazing, unheard of ratio. 2 injuries inflicted. Let's see where those SPP are going. Looks like an injury was inflicted by one of the werewolves in addition to the MVP, so that's good. Get those werewolves leveled up. That's just what you want. Hoping that they get either Mighty Blow or Tackle next. But we'll talk about that team in a little bit. And the last match, Pandemonium Burgers versus How Now Brown Drow. Again, early chaos against a very, very well-developed Dark Elf team. So this doesn't surprise me. In fact, it surprised me it's as close as it was. Pandemonium Burgers doing some damage with the armor breaks again. That's good. 36 blocks to 10 armor breaks. That's pretty good as well. Gets those 2 injuries. And doesn't look like the Dark Elves injured themselves at all. So that's actually unlucky for the chaos. Usually, I'd say the elves are good for at least one self-inflicted injury, whether that's a dodge or a GFI or something goofy, or a rock. Those kinds of things tend to happen. Let's see, just 1 pass, but that's enough. Ball possession was pretty even. This was probably actually a pretty close game. I might pop in and take a look at that, see how the Chaos team did for personal reasons, which we might get into later. So to recap where we're at, all this has already been decided with that draw there, though. Even if Dimension C137 had 1 out, still wouldn't have made a difference. But that draw means that even if they didn't have the bye, Skinky Island Boys would have been fine. And their last match, who gets to play them next? We'll take a quick peek at this week's schedule. So Templars of Aurora, the Elf Bowl, that'll be fun. I'll definitely want to watch that one. 2 very good coaches, 2 very good elf teams. Necronomic Newbies versus Cash Crew. The Necronomic Newbies just beat up 1 human team. I'm curious to see if they can do it to another. I do hope all these coaches, of course, come back, but I'd be curious to see how a lot of these coaches do next season. If they do stick with their teams or re-roll, I believe, well... Yeah, I'm curious. If you guys are planning on re-rolling as well, let me know, and I'll mention that in next week's recap video. I am very curious of everybody in Division 4 and 5 who plans on sticking with their team and re-rolling. If you do plan on sticking with your team, I will try and get my voice heard. I don't make the divisions, but I know these 2 divisions very well now from covering them for the last 13 weeks. And I will definitely pass my notes and knowledge along to the admins when they're making the divisions next season. So make sure to let me know if you do plan on staying, and because depending on the amount of rerolls, everything could get shuffled, and people in this division that didn't even make the top 4 could very easily find themselves in Division 3 or who knows. So yeah, just let me know. Admin game to the Chaos team, that's good for them. Admin game to Dracul Day Laborers, that's good for them. The Dwarf versus Undead matchup. This could have been a huge deciding matchup had Skinky Island Boys not fared as well to Secret of My Success, and that's another big matchup, the Orcs versus the Lizards. Trunkhead had predicted the Orcs to upset the Lizards in this match. I'm going to stick with Skinky Island Boys. They have been perfect, and I think the only thing that's going to stop them is a developed team in the playoffs, but we'll see. They've been able to handle Elves. They've been able to handle Bash. I mean... They didn't really face the real Bash team, Dimension C137, in its prime. But they went through the Dwarf team just fine, and we'll see how they do against this Orc team. But I think they're fine for it. And then a admin for Nurgle FTD to end the season for them. So they'll get another 13 SPP, or 16 SPP, so that'll be good for them. And none of these matches have been played yet, too, so that's good. Let's go ahead and pop in and take a look at the teams again. So Cash Crew Part 2 with JJ Cash. We now know why all this cash has been saved up. He is planning on hitting up the player market. And so that is the bonus that we're going to be doing today. We're going to be covering the player market. A lot of questions about that, and so I made wrong assumptions to get the right answers in the Discord this week, and I feel pretty confident with the information I'm going to pass along. However, if you do have additional questions, or if I am wrong, the person to tell you is going to be Ninja Pirate Assassin. He is the admin in charge of the player market, so if you do have additional questions about anything, or if I'm wrong, he's the guy to tell and reach out to in Discord if you need more information. There's also a separate channel for that as well in the Discord, so you can reach out for questions there. So this is a great team. We already talked about how they've got 2 stat ups. They've got the development on the right pieces going into the offseason. And we're going to look and see. So they've got 4 blitzers, no throwers, 1 catcher. So they can easily pick up some catchers and throwers to kind of fill in their ranks, but they're probably going to stick with all these blitzers because these are all great blitzers. Maybe the only one that you could possibly get rid of is this blitzer, who just has a plain old normal role for Mighty Blow if they wanted to pick up a killer blitzer, and we'll take a look and see what's in that market a little bit later this episode. 3 mountains going up against the undead team. Are they ready for it? They've got 1 piling on. They've got the grab. They've got 2 grabs now. They've got 5 guard, 6, 7 guard. That's a ridiculous amount of guard. That's as much guard as I had at the most on my orc team. And they've only had 1 season. That's crazy. That is enough to topple a mummy, but is it enough to topple a strength 6 mummy with a blodge mummy next to him? Although they've got tackle. But see, the thing is these troll slayers do not have tackle, so that blodge mummy is going to actually be hopefully okay. I would just hate to see that mummy die in the last game, especially those mummies are so good, but it's possible. And then, of course, Hell's Gate, who's going to be the primary target, I assume, for the undead team, and if he's able to stay out of, well, off the ground, basically. That's what he needs to do, because if he ever touches the ground, he's going to get a foul. And wouldn't even need to kill him, just I would say an agi bust or strength bust would be enough to probably get him retired. And I know KSW is probably coming back with this team next season, so it's in great shape. The secret of my success, the Orc team up against the playoff champs, well, not playoff champs, the division champs who are going to be going to the playoffs. They've got the tackle they need. They got the Mighty Blow tackle piece. If you're not blitzing a skink every turn that you can with this piece, you're doing it wrong. That would be my advice is first, as soon as the turn starts, do you have a hit with this piece on a skink? And if you do, that should be your action, or at least maybe not your first action, but the first dice that you roll. I would even take 1 GFI to hit a skink on this piece every single turn that I have a reroll. After that, Black Orcs and things, and try and get the Saurus. If you're playing an Orc team, and I just played Lizards tonight, if you can get if you can't get hits on the skinks, that's fine. Try and remove the Saurus. If you can remove 2 Saurus, at that point, you have the strength advantage. You don't have a whole lot of guard, but you don't necessarily need it as long as you are using your Black Orcs to kind of man up those Saurus, which you can. Your Black Orcs are actually probably more developed than his Saurus as well, so that's a really good thing for the Orc coach. Just the lack of guard on this team in general, I will say. These double dodges and stat ups here really cost the development towards guard. And so, because you took these, I don't think I would have taken these, but what do I know? Your Black Orcs are more developed than mine. So, it's working out for you so far. This Frenzy, again, probably should be guard too. You're definitely lacking in guard. And if I recall correctly, you lost to dwarves, didn't you? Oh no, you beat the dwarves without all the guard. Very good, very impressive. I like that. I am wrong on that one. And I think I actually picked them to beat you too because of that. Guard wins games, but if you get dice, that's good too. Nurgle team, we know they're getting the bye. Hopefully they get the SPP on pieces that they need. I would actually say the Valkyrie does not need SPP right now. You need to get SPP on this guy and your killer and your Nurgle warrior, even though he is agi busted. Try and get a couple more levels. But honestly, your team is developing really well, and I do not want to play you next season. Sneaky Island Boys going to the playoffs. What do their swords look like? They look pretty naked. So this is reminding me a lot of the team Pale Scales, who went through the playoffs last season with very naked swords. They got a bunch of development on their swords, but then they ended up losing a lot of pieces this season. But they did a good job in the playoffs, winning their first match in a match that people, I think, got probably 80% of the league voted against them, and they still pulled it off. Lizards, especially with stat ups on the skinks like this, can pull off some great stuff. And Skinky, Island Boys have shown that they're capable of it, so I'm hoping to see what Wave can pull off with the big spotlight on them. Dimension C137. Mummies looking phenomenal as always. They got tackle on the white. That's a new development. So now this is officially a nightmare piece. Scary Terry, aptly named. God. Yeah, every elf coach now for next season has to really worry about this team. They've got enough tackle. They've got pieces that can get there, and they can remove like crazy. 3 Mighty Blow is just enough. Look at the dirty players. Although I would probably fire Mr. Poopy Butthole. I think his time is at an end. Maybe he's just waiting to get one more dirty player piece before firing him. But yeah, 13 is a good number for an undead coach at this level of TV. You can probably bump up to 14, maybe 15, but that's probably pushing it until you start getting those killer Chaos and Nurgle teams against you. But normally Regen should be doing its job to keep your ranks full. Regen doesn't always work, but normally that's a thing. And he's sitting on a large bank as well. I'm curious if he's got any plans for the off season. Dracul Day Laborers. This is a fully fleshed out human team. They've got only one thrower, but 2 catchers, 4 blitzers, 1 blitzer's sitting out the next game. The killer, which we've talked about with the AV bus, still on the team. We'll see what Moniker decides to do there. Pandemonium Burgers. They hung in there. I like the 2 heads on the Adu 4. That's actually really nice. So that's basically a gutter runner at this point. He just needs to get dodge on it, which is a double. So no guarantee that you get it, but he's got 4 rerolls, so he kind of has dodge, kind of. And you can do some funky stuff with this. If you get a double, you get dodge. If not, I would say to go wrestle, unless you want him to be your only ball carrier. But I would actually make the ball carrier the movement piece. And you've got an extra arms piece too, so a lot of options here. That's probably how this team was able to hang in there with How Now Brown Drow. These are very flexible Chaos pieces so far. And then good old Chaos Warrior development there. A couple Mighty Blows, couple blocks. I like that. How Now Brown Drow has a couple levels they have not done yet, or 1, I should say. On their armor bust on his star player, the Agi 5 Blitzer with Leap. I don't think that gets fired. Basically, you have an extra Witch Elf, and you're already playing with some AV7 anyway, so I would keep him. But he's on borrowed time. He's now a War Dancer with a big target on his head, and he doesn't have dodge to stay alive. So you need to actually make a conscious effort to protect this piece. Don't be all willy-nilly with him. Make sure you make his moves count. And you're probably going to have to invest guard just to protect him when you do go in with him. But, yeah, that's a big blow. And if that happened early in the game against the Chaos, I could also see that having a big impact. But you still have another Agi 5 piece, so it's not the end of the world for you. 2 more teams left, I believe. Necro team. Again, very slow to start, but they're getting there. They got their dirty players. They're fouling with them. The big 3-2 win last week. That'll get them moving. The Pelage Flesh Golem, so good. So good. Just needs guard. And then, honestly, even though you didn't get Mighty Blow, it wouldn't matter. Pelage Guard, Stand Verb, that's a great piece. Doesn't need to level any more than that. Just need to get your other pieces leveling up. The whites are, I would say, actually pretty slow here for leveling. For 1 season, your whites should be able to level a little bit faster than that. And Hipster, again with 2 Agi 5 pieces. Hasn't got Leap yet, though. I would expect to get Leap next on this catcher. Although maybe he wants the Blodge first or Wrestle first, but I would probably go Leap here. I would probably not go Leap on this one, since he's already got Sidestep and Blodge, but if you give him Leap, then it's just like I guess it doesn't hurt to have Leap on there, too. Yeah. I don't know. You got options. You got options. You don't necessarily even need Leap. And to get a good bank here. Saved up from that last game. We'll see what he does with it. So a lot of the coaches here have quite a bit of bank saved up. We're going to still cover Division 4. And then at the end of the video, we're going to go to the player market. So if you're coming in from a different division and you don't really care what's happening in Divisions 4 and 5, you can skip to that player market part. Division 4. Again, we'll start off with what happened last week. Aces Trucking versus the Rebel Invasion. 3 deaths in this match. That is a bloody match. A lot of SPP gained for the Chaos team. Not so much. Well, actually, no. That's pretty decent for Squiggy's team as well. Low blocks to be expected against these Wood Elves. But even with those blocks, 35 blocks still resulting in 10 removals. That's really good. Out of 18 armor breaks. Yeah, he brought his damage with that one, and still more done by just regular elf stuff. Looks like another injury was just from a dodge. So, interception sustained. Ooh, interception. Man, even with an interception, you only get a 1-1 draw. That's interesting. I would have. Well, I always said this was going to be Ace Trucking Company's toughest match. Was going to be against this Wood Elf team as long as it played out, and it did live up to that. Ooh, MVP on the tree, and he got block. Oh wow! All right, I would be disappointed in Squiggy if he turns down this team, but we'll take a look at them later, and we'll see what got killed as well. Iron Man, Unlucky Skull. No deaths here. A lot of armor breaks and the Battle of the Khemri. To be expected, I would say, with the amount of AV7s that's there. Far more blocks for Gengar's team. And removals. And, eventually they both scored. Not too surprising from a Khemri matchup to end up in 1-1. If anything, it's good for Unlucky Skull to have pulled out the draw, even though they had more removals, or suffered more removals. Gambas Gets, of course, conceded to Communist Frat Party. KNG conceded to Resistance is Feudal. Is that right? Yep, that is a concede. Horrible Cliches. Oh no, I'm looking at the wrong week. Yeah, there we go. Unaccompanied Minos drew the Lizard Beasts. Unaccompanied Minos really getting to the Skinks, it looks like, would be my guess. 6 knockouts, 2 injuries, and 2 kills. Wow. That is a bad day for the Lizard team. I will want to see what damage was done there. And Carnival Freak Show, of course, concedes to the Baywatch Knights. Horrible Cliches barely loses to the Typos Happen, the Orc team. So Trunkhead's Dark Elves let him down. Good amount of blocks for the Orc team. Usually, as Dark Elves, you're not going to want to give up more than 50 blocks. That's pretty tough. Not a lot of removals, even from those 50 blocks. Decent amount of armor breaks. So this is mostly stuns. So this is kind of the opposite of that Quicks versus Squiggy matchup with the Wood Elves, where they had less stuns and more damage. This one's far more stuns than damage. And a self-inflicted injury. Like I said, all elf teams are usually good for about 1 self-inflicted injury a match. And if you get more than that, lucky you. So taking a look at the leaderboard, where we stand after that. Quicks is still in the lead with the draw. Just barely ahead of Typos Appam going into that last week. And it looks like Horrible Cliches is going to be out of it. So they are not able to come in, I think. Because if they win... Actually, if both these teams lose and they win, he could get through, couldn't he? With draw 4. Yeah, so there might be a chance for Horrible Cliches. But let me check the schedule and see who's playing who. Horrible Cliches versus Game of Gets. So they automatically are having a win. Typos Happen could lose to Resistance is Feudal. And where's good old Ace? Ace's Trucking Company could lose to Unaccompanied Minos. So in theory, Horrible Cliches could still get in there, as could Typos Happen, as could Aces Trucking Company. So these are the three that are in it. I don't believe anyone else is going to be in it at this point. Just out of it is Raven Poe with those Baywatch Nights. So hats off to you, Raven Poe. You did really well this season for what you did. Going through the teams here, again, trying to keep it moving quick. Resistance is futile. Nothing really changed here. Actually, I take that back. That is another strength up, isn't it? On that blocker. Is that just last match? I can't tell. Maybe look at the history and see if he got the MVP. He did not. Did he get the touchdowns? No. So that was not last match. Never mind. He's had it. All right. Fair enough. 2 level ups that he hasn't taken. He could get leader here for that extra reroll. He's got a bunch of cash too, so maybe he's thinking about picking up something. I'm not sure if there's any Bretts, but we'll take a look in the free agent market. Gambus Gits, we can skip. Lizard Beast, they have the deaths. Let's see what they lost, if anything crucial. And it looks like they did lose a Saurus. That is a bummer. And they also lost a Skink. Another bummer. Did they have a Blodge Skink? I think they had a Blodge Skink that might have died, which would be a big deal. They still have the Niggled Saurus, or Niggled Croxagore rather, that has a ton of SPP on him, which is basically bloated at this point. So he did not get replaced, which is what we talked about last week. Looks like he spent money elsewhere, possibly on like a wizard or something. Some kind of inducement would be my guess. But now he needs to replace a Saurus. It's too bad. Unlucky Skull. I doubt that we're going to see the Khemri team next season, which is a little disappointing. He doesn't have a dirty player. He's got an Agi up. I mean, he has not rolled bad on his level ups, if I'm being honest. The Niggle sucks on the Blitzer. Admittedly, that needs to be replaced with that cash. That's where I would do it if you are going to keep this team. Everything else, though, here looks fine, honestly. I think leader on the throw raw is a little bit hairy. As long as you keep him safe by the time you use your first reroll, that's fine. I do like Gengar's idea of 4 rerolls, though. He explained that to me. I called that out last week. He has 4 rerolls because he wants to greed reroll on these Tomb Guardian blocks. And without block, they actually do eat a lot of rerolls. So, makes sense. Very sound. If you're going to play Khemri, I would also recommend running them at 4 rerolls. Aces Trucking Company suffered a death, and it was Ace. Ace Jr. is back on the team. So now there's no longer a sure hands piece. Man, the Bull Centaur, though, really set it back his bank. So he is just barely hanging in there with 11 players, even though he's got the winning record. And this prehensile tail still makes me laugh, because what the fuck. He's going into the playoffs. He's probably going to maybe get an elf team. Maybe that'll come into play. He said against the Wood Elves, it actually forced a reroll. So there's that. That's something. That's definitely something. 1 reroll. We'll see. I'm sure he's going to keep a tally and let us know how well that does. But why wouldn't you get Claw, man? Why wouldn't you get Claw? Let's see. Moving on to Iron Man, Gengar's team. Again, I really hope he sticks with this team. I want to see a second season Khemri to see what they do. I would love to see a Khemri team make the playoffs, although I don't know if it's going to be... I mean, this team might as well, right? He's got a 4-strength Blitzeroth with piling on. He's got very well-developed Tomb Guardians. You know, it's really going to come down to where he gets placed, right? If he gets placed up in Division 2 with a bunch of 3 or 4 season teams, that could be very tough for his team. As soon as he runs into some serious Claw Mighty Blow, he's going to be in a world of pain on these Tomb Guardians. Particularly if he goes up against a Nurgle team like Mainland Rotters. I could see them destroying this team. But if he gets against a bunch of teams from Division 5 and 6, or 4 and 5 and 6, then he could find himself in a playoff spot. Just have to wait and see. Cash Crew Part 2. JJ Cash. Again, we talked about them. They moved to the other division. I just wish they didn't show up there. Communist Frat Party. They've got a decent amount of bank as well. Another human team. This, again, has all their positionals filled out, but no linemen. So I don't know if he's really going to be picking up much from the player market, but we'll take a look. And KNG. Have a level up there. Piling on without claw. I don't like that. I would have rather see you get guard after that. Before you get any piling on, I want to make sure that you have Mighty Blow and claw first. Because you don't want that on a piece that doesn't roll any doubles. At least in my opinion. Super well developed Bull Centaurs though. Very envious of those Bull Centaurs. Rebel Invasion, Squiggy back, welcome back. Really sad for your season. I think you really could have made the playoffs if you didn't have those technical difficulties, which I'm sure you're kicking yourself for as well, but nothing you can do about that one. It's just kind of beyond your control. There's always next season, honestly, with this War Dancer alone, and then now you got the block tree. How do you turn this team down? I mean, I suppose you could pad the free agency market with players that every single Wood Elf coach would absolutely buy in a heartbeat. You've got a Mighty Blow Tackle War Dancer, you've got an Agi 5 Move 9 War Dancer, and you've got a block tree. These three players right here would be bought in a second. Same with the guard line piece, and honestly, same with the catcher. So I would hate to see you turn away this team because they're just doing so well. I know you want to play Pro Elves, but this is a great team. Especially going into that second season. I would trade teams with you, honestly. I know that's not a thing yet, but with Legendary Edition, who knows? Who knows? It's going to be technically possible to trade teams in the future. Det Monkey, Unaccompanied Minos. Det Monkey, great guy. Love playing my minors games with you. Great Bull Centaurs, as we talked about before. The Mighty Blow Break Tackle. This is a true blitzer now. Not a lot of true blitzing Bull Centaurs. Mostly just ball carrying threats. So you just need to get tackle on this piece next, and you're almost there. And then a couple more guard, I would say, on those blockers. But all around a very solid team. I hope you do stick with those. I hope all the Chaos Dwarf teams stick with their teams for another season. I don't see any of them that are really, truly ready to reroll. Horrible Cliches, and then I believe there's one more after that. Try Me, Move 8, Blitzer, nice. This team was talked about in the Rebel Alliance podcast this week. They were talking about Dark Elves. Good things to say. Mighty Blow Tackle Witch Elf, honestly, the dream right here. And this is a great defensive piece with the Diving Tackle and Sidestep. I would get Tackle on there next, and then you're pretty much in great territory. You could even do Shadowing after the Tackle, and just for the sake of having Shadowing and it making sense. It becomes the true ultimate marking piece. No problem with marking with your Witch Elves, and you'll probably hear this from somewhere else, but while they do have Jump Up, which is nice for that, they're AV7. And when you mark with AV7 pieces, it's basically saying, hey, hit me, hit me, hit me. If you can reinforce them with guard, great. You probably would want 2 guard pieces reinforcing that if you're really trying to dissuade them from punching your Witch Elf. But reality is that piece is going to get punched, and I would say that they're more likely to die in any given season, just because of the way that you're going to be using this piece. But the rest of your team looks phenomenal. Good development for one season. Very jealous. You didn't get all the stat ups that Division 5 got, but you still have some very well-rounded pieces, and that Mighty Blow really does make a difference on an elf team. Basically essential in my book. Chaos team, or not Chaos, Orc team from Kakengrad. Not the most developed Black Orcs. The other Orc team that we looked at, The Secret of My Success, had far more development on their Black Orcs. But this is probably, I would say, average for a Black Orc team at the end of one season. You've probably at least had to give them the ball a couple times, maybe a couple lucky MVPs. But this is, I would say, average to have 4 skills over your 4 Black Orcs for the course of one season. To have 6 or 7 skills on the Black Orcs that the Secret has is very lucky. No ifs or buts about it. That's luck to get that much SPP on them. Your Blitzers, though, are looking great. Blodge strength up. Guard, stand firm on this piece is going to be awesome. It's an extra Black Orc. And then we talk about it every time, but I'm so jealous of this piece. Dinner Specials. getting those 2 doubles. So good. Get stand firm next, then tackle, then guard, and you've got it. You've got it. Keep feeding them the ball. Really, you're going to start synergizing once you get stand firm. So that's only 2 touchdowns away from stand firm, and then you've got the ultimate marking piece there. And then once you can throw tackle on that, it's going to really just emphasize the excellence of diving tackle and force the enemy team to burn their re-rolls if they do try and dodge out. And that, I believe, is it. Oh, no. God, I always skip this team. Raven Pose, Baywatch Knights. They do have a couple level ups that they haven't chose to get yet. But I believe they're sitting on the same development that they had pretty much last week. So we'll see if they do anything of this. I do know Raven Poe is re-rolling to a stunty team, so he's probably put as much thought into it as I just did right there. So that's it for Division 4 and 5. We'll take a quick peek, I guess, at the schedule for this week. Anything huge coming up. That'll be, let's see, that'll probably be a Wood Elf match win. I'm going to say Iron Madden over KNG. I'm going to say Ace Trucking Company over Unaccompanied Minos, although he struggled with, I don't know, he took I guess he diced KNG according to Quicks. So he may dice this team again. Dead Monkey's team just doesn't have the developed blockers, and so that's why I'm going to say the amount of guard in Mighty Blow is just going to go to Quicks. It's an admin game. Type of Sapling versus Resistance Feudal. I'm going to go with the Orcs here. Baywatch Knights over Lizard Beast. I'm going to go with the Baywatch Knights, seeing as the sore eye disadvantage for Lizard Beast there, and just undeveloped now too as well. And I think, honestly, Ravenpoe is going to know how to take advantage of that niggled Croxagore, because fouling niggled pieces with Dirty Player is ridiculously strong. So that was it for the recap part. Now let's talk about the player market. So at the end of your first season, so after your team has played a season, which applies to everyone in Division 4 and 5, you can go to the player market. To find the player market, I go to Rebel, and it's right here, this REBBL player market. 17 teams is the key part there. And so I just go right to the teams here. And so this shows you all the teams that are on the market. The team values are deceiving because some of those have sold team players and some haven't, and some have nothing at all. So don't really base it off the team value. Just look for the team that you want. And the very first team that we're going to look at is the one that's going to make the most impact for Divisions 4 and 5, because we know that one coach has pretty much devoted a whole lot of money, almost $500,000 gold, towards buying some pieces. So let's take a look at this and all the options, and this is so crazy. The human team has, I think, more sitting here than any other team, but we're going to go through all of them so you can see for yourself. But let's kind of call out what we see here. So we've got a couple catchers to start, an Agi 4 diving tackle block sidestep catcher, Glover. This is an awesome piece for 170,000. I would absolutely pick this up. I could totally see Cash Crew Part 2 with JJ Cash. I could see him picking this piece up. He's only got one catcher, and Agi 4 on a human team is very, very helpful. Next catcher is guard Blodgestep. Blodgestep's great, unfortunately, and guard as well, but unfortunately it's on a strength 2 piece, so they're just going to punch that. So the sidestep is going to be really important for how useful it is. You're going to have to really basically plan on trying to sidestep to where you need the guard to be after you get punched and soak up the hit and hope it's not a POW. Personally, because it's strength 2, like if this was a ghoul with the same skills, great. That's a great piece. AV7, sure, it's going to probably die at some point because it's sticking its head in places it shouldn't be. But since it's strength 2, I'm on the fence about it. I'm not great. I really think it's a great piece, but it's okay. I wouldn't buy it. Pedro, movement bust, but he is a blitzer with kill skills galore. He's got all the stuff that you need, and I could potentially see, although he is pricey because he is at level 6, but I could potentially see JJ Cash picking up this blitzer just because he's got all the killing all the killing skills that he could possibly imagine. Even though that his movement busted as well. So that's a maybe actually on that one. We'll see what his alternative would be. Just an accurate thrower, skip. DP kick, skip. Charles Cornwallis, again, guard on a catcher, skip. Benedict Arnold is going to be probably the other blitzer option that you could consider with, again, Mighty Blow, tackle, pro, agi up, and guard. This would be the alternative to just a straight pure killer, which is very easy to get. None of these are doubles. None of these are doubles really either, but you do get the stat up of the Agi 4, which we already talked about for humans. Agi 4 is awesome and very, very worth investing in. The only problem is you're not going to want to score touchdowns with this piece. So I would say that this guy kind of keeps you in the elf game. Agi 4 guard is good as well, but you're not going to get dodge for a long time, and that's only if you get a double on your level 7. Lineman. We talked about another human team that's, out of linemen. Then this is a good lineman to get with a double guard block. Hardest thing about getting a lineman that gets a double guard is you don't have the block to go with it, so they just get punched in the face as soon as you put them next to somebody. This one at least has the potential of staying in its spot on a 1 and 9. Thrower-wise, strong arm, block thrower. If you need a thrower, which I think JJ Cash does, this isn't a bad one to get since he's already got the double for the strong arm. And you can get accurate next and have actually a very reliable thrower. Movement up catcher. This one's far more valuable than the guard one. I would absolutely take this catcher if you're looking for a catcher. Movement 9 is going to make that one turn very easy. And you can get sprint and sure feet after that to make it even more reliable. But movement 9, very, very good. This is just a borderline gutter runner with a little less reliability. A blitzer with movement up, blodge, and sure hands. This would be the blitzer if you don't want to run a thrower at all. You just want to play Dark Elf Ball, where you're going to be keeping your sure hands, blodge, trying to maintain movement on the ball. Personally, the blitzers are so much more valuable doing things other than holding the ball on the human team that I think this piece is just a bust. And I don't even know who's going to buy it, but maybe somebody. I'm sure that's how it ended up on the market in the first place. Last two pieces, the lineman here, again, guard. I would not take this one, even though he's missing next game, or is he nickeled? I can't tell. Yeah, just missed next game. He's fine. So if you need two guard pieces, or two linemen with guard, I guess you could get both those, and that would be somewhat efficient. But that would be if you want to just plain old stat guard on humans, which isn't a bad thought. And then your standard, this is as standard as peanut butter and jelly, guard, mighty blow, tackle on a blitzer. If you don't want a killer and you don't want the agi up. But JJ Cash, I would imagine, is going to get a bunch of these. Quickly moving on to the other teams. Orcs, there are none. There probably will be at the end of the season, but they won't be available till next season. So, again, we'll talk about the rules at the end here. But I'm 99% sure I'm going to be deleting my team at the end of the season, and I'm going to be putting up some phenomenal orcs. So we'll take a look at those at the end of this. Dwarfs. No dwarfs. Sorry, dwarf coaches. No Chaos Sabulu ringers. Skaven. There are some Skaven here. A lot of strength of Skaven. Unfortunately, most of them are linemen, which is exactly how they ended up here, because they're bloaty, and Skaven don't like bloat at all. There are two gutter runners here. This one in particular, Finn, plus strength blodge gutter runner, I think should be bought at the end of the season. I'd be very surprised if he wasn't. If anything, the only reason he wouldn't be bought is because Skaven have a hard time keeping cash, because they're constantly replacing their linemen. This one with horns is stupid. Don't buy it. Guard, sure, but he's not going to live very long. Kick, why would you buy it? Even Smith's next game, I don't know why anyone would buy that. And then the two hands double, Jar Jar Binks. If you want to risk Nuffle's wrath by buying a piece that's named after the worst Star Wars character ever, you could. Wrestle two heads, pretty good. That name, pretty bad. I don't know. I guess it's going to depend on the scaling coach. But if you're missing gutters and you've got the cash, pick one of these up. They're very good. High elves. No high elves, unfortunately. If you are going to be deleting your teams, though, remember, you can sell your players here, and I highly recommend it. Lime Crush, a Mighty Blow Blitzer for the Dark Elves. There were a couple Dark Elves with some cash. Why wouldn't you want to pick this up? I know that doesn't fit your naming scheme, but honestly, getting a double for Mighty Blow off the bat is huge. So I would personally recommend that if you've got the money for it. No Bretts, it looks like. Chaos. A piece that no one should buy. A Dirty Player Kick for 100,000. I guess if you're desperate and you've got the cash at the end of a buy, so Pandemonium Burgers, if you really wanted a Dirty Player with Kick, you could do it. But I probably wouldn't. Wood Elves. So we already talked about how Squiggy wants to re-roll, and if he does, he's going to be putting up some amazing players. There are some pretty good players here. The movement up tree is awesome because he doesn't have to roll to stand up after he gets knocked down, but Squiggy has a block tree, which is going to be way more important than the stand-up tree, in my opinion, because you're not going to get knocked over as much. But your mileage may vary. I've had this debate before. A lot of people like the movement up over the block. Basically, you have the choice here. The other one has guard block. This one has movement up guard or grab. So a couple options there. The movement up catcher, really good. And close to leveling as well to get block to make it more survivable, or Sure Feet to make the one turn even easier. Who knows? You might even get a second movement up and just have a natural one turner. Always a possibility. This War Dancer, though, I would not take. War Dancers only have so many useful skills. This one got all those useful skills and then decided to get other skills, which are not as useful. The Fend Step, Sidestep, Blodge, Diving Tackle is a piece that's situationally going to be very helpful, and potentially, if all the dice go your way, is going to be very good. The problem is, it's an 87 piece, which I already talked about with the Witch Elf, playing the marking game, which I don't think is going to go well. Just my take. Lizards, a couple skinks up for sale. Guile is a phenomenal skink. He's a potential one-turner with Blodge. So even though you're not going to be developing him, and he's very expensive as far as skink values go, this is a skink that you would want on your team. Finish is a plus strength skink. So that on its own isn't great. If you develop him and he gets wrestle, then I'd say his value goes up 1,000,000 times because he can then start cage diving for you with really good reliability. But a strength 3 sidestep skink ball carrier is also very strong as well, as opposed to the usual 2 dice that everybody gets when they blitz the skink. This one's going to be a little bit tougher to take down, so not a bad piece either. Both these I think could get picked up this season. Norse team. This one's a little bit different. Both these Norse players are injured. You're not going to take the diving or the dirty player Fend. I just don't think anyone's going to buy that. The plus strength thrower, which the Norse thrower is already a pretty crappy piece, right? This one's got leader, sure hands, blodge, tackle, strength up. This is actually a pretty good piece, and that's why they took it, even though it's niggled. Odds are that because it's going to be carrying the ball, it's not going to be taking very many shots, and since it's got blodge, it's going to be even harder to take down. But all that said, and it's strength 4, so again, it's even harder to take down. But once you go down, you're going to be losing a lot because of that niggle. So just if you do take this, just know what you're getting yourself into. We don't have a lot of Norse teams anyway, so who knows if anyone's even going to buy these. The other one is the armor-busted Ulfhorner. Again, it's Norse, so you're going to be used to playing with hurt players. I could see potentially somebody buying this because the hardest part of the Ulfhorner is leveling them up, and so this one has all the level ups that you need and want. Maybe get tackle next, but this is basically the shortcut. So this would be like if your team is just one Ulfhorner short of being a really good playoff-ready team, you could pick them up. Undead. This is, again, like the humans, pretty stacked with good options. The block, stand firm guard, mummy is awesome. Robert EP. Love it. I would absolutely buy this if you've got a mummy shortage. Of Divisions 4 and 5, Dimension C137, though, is not going to be buying that. Blodge, Mighty Blow White. If this was Blodge Guard, I'd be more inclined to take it, but you can get Guard just with 1 touchdown, so it's not a bad piece if you're lacking white development. This is a fully fleshed out Killer White with Frenzy and Dauntless after you get your killer skills. I am less big of a fan of the Frenzy Killer as much as I am. The Dauntless is good for taking on things like Black Orcs and things like that, but I don't know. I don't know if I'd buy that one. It's very expensive, and there's no double skills here. So you can usually develop your own whites pretty fast. At the end of one season, I guess if you had a white die, you could buy it, but I probably wouldn't. And then 2 ghouls. Not 2 ghouls. 2 guard pieces. One is a Blodge Agi 4 ghoul. This is absolutely a buy. This would be a buy in a heartbeat for me. 160k. This is nice. The Agi up especially. Because undead do struggle with bad weather. Playing in the rain for an undead team with just 3 agility can be a nightmare. So with the Agi 4, makes it a lot easier. And then the skeleton I don't like as much, even though he's got guard, which is nice for the skeleton, being a little bit more mobile with the 5 movement. The tackle for the second skill I just don't like and don't get, and wish whoever leveled this piece up went with block instead. But he is close to leveling, so you could make the argument to go ahead and get this piece, but it's a little awkward having tackle and no block. Moving on. Necro. They have a werewolf. It is not one that I would recommend. No doubles here, and it's basically at max development, and it's movement busted. So personally, I wouldn't buy it, and I can't recommend it. Nurgle have nothing to sell. Chaos Dwarfs just came out last season, so again, they have nothing to sell. Khemri, again, have nothing to sell. So real quickly, how the player market works is after you have played for 1 full season, you are able to buy or sell your players to the player market. If you buy any players from the player market, you have to pay the gold that they're worth. So, for example, Fear My Fur, you would have to have 200,000 cash. You can sell your players to get that cash, and kind of make the difference as long as the players meet the criteria for getting here. So you can't just sell, naked linemen here, and they're not going to take those. But if you had, a zombie with guard, you could possibly sell that. And so that's, I'm assuming, how that stupid skeleton got here. It's cash for something else. You can sell your players if you're going to be re-rolling or deleting your team. So if you're thinking, okay, I, played Chaos Dwarfs and I got some developed blockers, but most of my team's dead, well, you can sell your pieces to the Chaos Dwarf team here, and the money goes to your team, but you're going to delete your team anyway. Your team's no longer eligible to play in the league or whatever. It doesn't automatically make it ineligible for you to sell. So if you just want the extra cash, you could sell a piece as long as it meets what they're looking for. But if you do decide to, what am I looking for? If you are re-rolling, there's really no negative for you selling your pieces. Just if you didn't want to keep them together, or if you were going to play the team on like the All-Star League, that kind of thing. Those are the only reasons that you would really want to keep your team or your pieces kind of all intact. The other kind of question that goes along with this is trading pieces. So say that you're one of these teams that doesn't have any pieces at all. So say you're an orc coach, right? And you want to buy other pieces, but there's nothing on the market. There's really nothing you can do about it. If an orc coach were to sell his pieces to the market this season, they have to rest for 1 full season before someone else can buy them. So when Superfed TV's orcs from the team Brazzers get sold to free agency. No one can buy them this season. They have to wait until next season, and then they're going to be up for sale. So a lot of these pieces that are available today were sold there last season. I want to say the Skinks in particular. I don't think were available last season. The other part of it is the trading. So if you trade players with another team, so say you're one orc coach and you want to trade with another orc coach, you can only do the trade if both teams are planning on sticking around for next season. So in my case, my orcs would not be eligible to be traded because I plan on deleting my team. If I change my mind and I do want to keep my team, then I could trade. If you're hearing this and you're an orc coach and you want to try and convince me to keep my team, you can offer me a trade. I'll show you what I've got. But realistically, I'm probably the reason why I'm leaning towards deleting my team and selling all my players is because if I give up one of my pieces to get other developed pieces, I'm kind of deleting what's at the core of my team. My team is pretty much built around two pieces. Riley Reid, which is my ball carrier, and Mia Malkova, which is my other scoring threat, which was the blodge piece. Didn't get diving tackle for my last level up, so I'm probably done with the team just because I was kind of waiting to see if I could get the Wolf Rider build with blodge and diving tackle and sand firm and all that jazz, and it didn't happen for me. The rest of my team kind of imploded. If I trade away a Black Orc to get more developed blitzers, which is a common trade for orc teams. Every orc coach wants to have those developed Black Orcs. I'm still in a bad spot because realistically I could level up my Black Orc or my blitzers pretty fast, but then I'd be really at a disadvantage having weak Black Orcs. So I don't see an easy way for me to improve my team value and improve my overall team without having to give up stuff that my team is kind of built around. And if I'm just going to do that, then why not just re-roll altogether, at least in my opinion. And if I do keep this team, I'm going to get promoted as well because I did perform pretty well, even though I lost all my pieces. I'm currently second, but I'm probably going to end up in the top 4 for sure. And so getting promoted to Div 2 most likely with a very battered orc team and playing against a bunch of claw teams, it's only going to lead to more deaths in my opinion, because I am so weakened with where I'm at that I'm going to probably re-roll. So I'm probably going to sell my pieces. Similarly, I know Lich is re-rolling as well, so he's going to have some pieces that he could sell. Those are the only 2 re-rolls I know for sure in Division 3. But anyway, back to my point. If you're going to trade with somebody, both of you have to stay with your teams before you make any trades. And that does have to get certified by the commissioner of trades, whatever you want to call him, Ninja Pirate Assassin. So that's it for the player market. If you are deleting your teams, I do strongly encourage you to put them on the player market. There's no real negative advantage to you, and you kind of get the joy and satisfaction of later on in a couple seasons seeing one of your former pieces possibly living out its glory. I know I will take extreme pride in Mia Malkova and Riley Reid, and actually I think honestly, I have 5 pieces that could get picked up really easily, and I would probably put Lily LeBeau on the market more for the backstory than for the actual skills. It's just a regular dirty player line orc, but these 2 kills were super huge. The block Beast of Nurgle being one of them, and I believe it was an elf, high elf catcher that had a bunch of skills as well that died by a foul. So, yeah, I probably am deleting my team, but I think that pretty much all my pieces are going to get picked up in 2 seasons, maybe by a great coach from Big O or from G-Man, possibly make a playoff run with those. Who knows? But that's why I recommend you guys sell your pieces if you re-roll. So I think I'm coming up on an hour here, so I think this is where I will cut it. But thanks for watching. We will still cover the end of the season next week, and then I will be doing some playoff coverage once we get to the playoffs. But it's been a great season. I've been happy to do these videos for you guys, and I will look forward to seeing you all again next season. Have a good night.